Good evening and welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacy Johnson. Joining me tonight is Oguna, who used to be the Nigerian Republican, but now he's the voice of reason.
Moderate.
Keith, the constitutional conservative. Stephen, the independent thinker. And my cousin Todd, who was on here but is late. Tonight, we have a packed show. Oh, I'm sorry. And Miss Ashley is joining us from California. Miss Ashley,
Thank you very much.
thank you
Thank
for
you for the
joining us.
invite. Thank you for the invite.
We have a packed show for you tonight. The Supreme Court leaves Biden's new student loan repayment plan blocked. Stephen will talk about NASCAR, and at least, sadly, 9 Palestinians were killed as Israel mounts a major West Bank operation. Todd and tennis, the U.S. Open is happening right now in New York City, and the COVID season is upon us. The United States government will be making free COVID tests, treatments return to help the country cope over the fall and winter months. U.S. officials um, announced that Ukraine's Zelensky is planning to present President Biden with plans to end the war with Russia. Aguna and the NFL, you know what he's here to talk about. Eagles, Eagles, Eagles.
Go Birds.
Vice President Harris was on tour in Georgia today. We'll talk about that as an umpire at Yankee Stadium was taken off on a gurney after being struck by a broken bat. Former President Trump faces a revised U.S. indictment and election subversion case, in addition to criticism for his Arlington National Cemetery visit. College football, we'll talk about what the first week looked like. And new January 6th footage reveals Pelosi's focus on Trump and hours after the insurrection. That and more, if we can fit it in. First up, with NASCAR. Stephen, what is going on with NASCAR?
What
do you
is
have?
not going on with NASCAR? We have the biggest story of the year, biggest story probably in years. We have Harrison Burton is son of Jeff Burton, and Jeff Burton's brother was Ward Burton. They're all drivers. So he's a son of a driver, and he finally won his first race Saturday night at Daytona. What a way to win! They had already let him go for next year. They already told him they were going to let him go. But since he won this race and now has made the playoffs because he won a race, they're reconsidering what they may do now. They're bringing in Josh Berry, the number 4 driver from Earnhart's old group. But now we have Harrison Burton drives for Wood Brothers. He gave them their 100th win. This is a spectacular time for him. It couldn't have came at a better time. And then next week is the last race before the playoffs start, and that'll be a 10 race playoffs. So next week is somebody who hasn't won. Say it'd be Bubba or Ross Chastain. If one of those win, they can make the playoffs. So it's so exciting, right? It's the best time of the year. And a lot of people don't like stage racing when they do 3 stages during the race. They don't like the playoffs, but this makes it exciting. Nobody can run away with it. All the numbers come back to everybody gets numbers that are tight with the next guy behind them, the next guy behind them. Nobody's running away yet. You have to race hard every race, every lap. You have to race hard, and that's why this is still appealing. And another thing that happened really bad was Richmond lost one of their races for next year. I don't know if it's going to be a continuous thing because Richmond has had 2 races since 1959. We've always had 2 races. We're going to lose one, and they're going to send it to Mexico. Of all the indignities, who everybody's trying to get out of Mexico. Who's trying to get there to race a car? People trying to race their cars out of Mexico. But we take it as it comes. Whatever happens, happens. But there is so much going in NASCAR right now. it could take up the whole show. But I'll leave it at that. Darlington's next week. That's a great race, and everybody's going to be going crazy trying to make the playoffs. So it's going to be a good time next week.
All right.
Is
Thank
Darlington,
you.
Darlington is like one of the oldest tracks, right? It's like one of the, and it's only a mile, right? It's one of the smallest and one of the oldest.
Yeah, it's kind of small, but it's it's definitely one of the oldest, and they get 2 races. They're not going to take those away. Another thing about Richmond is we haven't been supporting them the way we used to. We used to get 100,000 people there, and we just don't do anything. It's been $100 a ticket too, so we don't fill the place up. The tickets have gone down. They treat everybody really well, but I'm one of them too. I don't like to go to a race by myself, but I can't find people that want to go with me. So, but Darlington's got to go on. If you want to go to a good race, go to that Darlington race, and the atmosphere and the race and everything's going to be great. And next week's going to be great. I'm going to see if I can't go down there next week. I haven't seen a race in person in a while. It's been a little while, so I might go out down there.
Yeah, it gets packed down. I grew up in South Carolina, so I know it's like race week. It's almost like Daytona in Florida. When I was in Orlando, the whole week just shuts down. Right?
So you got to go to Darlington, Laguna. You have to go to Darlington.
So we raise our
and
hand,
then
we recognize. How does that go?
Go ahead,
yes,
Miss Ashley.
Ashley.
Yeah, because I'm about 5 miles from Fontana, and they had the Fontana Speedway that was here for years, doing very well. And I didn't realize this as far as I read the newspaper the other day, and they closed down that speedway and converted it to warehouses. And so that was very popular in this area. I don't know what happened there, or whatever, but Fontana was a very strong area for NASCAR and for racing here. So I don't know if you know anything about that and why that.
Oh yeah, you're exactly right. I don't know why they got rid of it. What happens is, I guess people slowly just don't support it as much as they over time. Slowly they don't support it as much, and they say, well, we can do something else better, and that's what they're going for. They're trying to make money. It's all everything is a business.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Aguna, NFL. What's going on with the Eagles? And then Stephen will take it with the Washington Commanders.
Well, first and foremost, football is back. It is back, and thank God, football is back. A week from today, you're going to have the Ravens versus the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City to kick it off, the kick off the football schedule. And then the very next game in São Paulo, Brazil, will be the Eagles versus Green Bay Packers, which is going to be a good game. Both of those 2 games.
Oh, wait, but Stephen wants to know if you were going to Brazil to see the game.
I am not going to Brazil. I thought about it for an actual microsecond, and then travel request was quickly denied by my wife.
Oh,
now, I would have the issue a little bit, but I didn't. I mean, I'm like, come on, I got to.
Yeah, but did you know it? I didn't know until recently they were going to be playing. Did you know for a long time they were going to Brazil?
Yes.
And you could have planned you could have planned a trip?
I could have, but I knew how that was going to go.
Oh,
so
man.
Go that route because I was like, okay, because there's going to be something else I really want to do. And so if I do that, then I just
too many bathing suits. Too many bathing suits.
It was it's in São Paulo. It's not in Rio de Janeiro. Okay. So it's like it's the industrial city, but Brazil is Brazil, right? So, I could have made
I don't know you very well.
Yeah, your wife wasn't into it. I understand.
Trips for you.
Is it what?
I don't know you very well, but why is your wife denying all of these trips for you?
She doesn't deny all these trips. It's just certain ones because we travel together, right? So this is one of those ones that you just don't want to go there. Like, hey, going to DR or going down. Like, hey, let's just next time. Or she could go with me. If she doesn't want to go to Brazil, we're gonna try to find another place because São Paulo is not like a real tourist type place anyway.
Right.
So, but that being said, it's in Brazil. Green Bay Packers. Green Bay with love. We got Jalen Hurts. The question this year is whether or not Jalen Hurts, with all the weapons around him, could actually get it done this year. Because at the end of the day, he has no excuses. You got Saquon Barkley. You got the great 2 best receivers in the league in Smith and AJ. You got Dallas Goedert. And then you got a decent defense. I mean, there's no excuses now. And then they went out and got my man from DC, Dotson. They traded for him, who's the slot guy. He's a number 1 draft pick. He's got him in the slot. So Jalen has a lot to prove. Now, for the record, you hear me on this show first, I am not very confident in Jalen Hurts. I support him. He's the Eagles quarterback. but
what
I
now?
am not.
Never.
I am not confident
You
based on
never
what I saw
are.
last year. And I'm an Eagles fan, true and true. And I just don't. I mean, again, I don't want to get my hopes up. But if Jalen's the Jalen of 2 years ago versus last year, there's going to be problems. But if he's the Jalen of last year, and he came out the tunnel. I was at the preseason game. He came out the tunnel. 2 years ago, before he got the 200, before he got all that money, he was waving at the fans. He come over there and talk to the kids. He didn't even look at the fans. He just walked on there. I was like, what? I was like, all right, Jalen, keep on now. Keep on. Watch yourself. Because, again, with more money, more problems. And he has a lot to prove. And he has no excuses because he's got the weapons. He's got a new coordinator. So he needs to be ready to go. That being said, I'm looking forward to football. We got some great football coming up. It's only a week away. So I'm telling all our viewers, your husbands are going to be out of pocket, all right, until February at least, on Sunday, or actually from Thursday through Monday, all right? We're going to be glued to the television watching ball. It's going to be college football. We got college football and pro football on Thursdays. Got games on Fridays. We got games on Saturdays and Sundays and Mondays, all right? So don't bother them. All right, leave them alone and let them watch the football because that's all we're going to be doing.
Okay, now stop being sexist because I watch the football games like that too. So,
I'm not going to go there with you, Stacey,
games?
because maybe if you have a significant other, maybe you come down to the Eagles bar in DC, you can find one, right? You guys can kind of figure that out. But I'm talking to those who have spouses who may not be into football. If you have football spouses, then great. You guys got a lot of date nights coming up. Otherwise,
all right,
leave them alone.
Sounds good. Steven, with your Commanders.
Before I go to the Commanders, let me ask Laguna a couple questions really quick.
Shoot.
Oh my gosh!
I just got to know.
Because
Stacey, he didn't mention the elephant in the room, which is Kelsey. Now, who did you get to replace Kelsey? Because that's your brain. You lost your brain when you lost Kelsey.
Well, that's not the brain. That's not the brain.
Your center is the brain.
Yeah, I mean, you can't replace Kelsey because he is actually kind of like a coordinator on the field, right? So he did a lot of the looks for the Eagles when they lined up. But the guy, and I'm kicking myself because I know the center.
Oh, you don't have to know his name, but is he a rookie? Has he been around?
No, he's been around. He's actually pretty decent, and in fact, he's bigger. He's actually bigger than Kelsey. So the Eagles' offensive line is like one of the largest lines in the history of the NFL. So you got Saquon, and you got an offensive line that's gotten bigger. So it's actually an upgrade from a weight standpoint. Now, from a football intelligence, Kelsey is going to be a first round or first ballot Hall of Famer, right? So you're not going to be able to replace that just overnight.
Yeah, he's a general out there, man. It's not your quarterback. It's your center. If you got a good center like him that's got that experience, he's the reason y'all are been doing so good. That's the only thing that worries me because my son in fantasy got Jalen Hurts. Loves him. We both love him. We're not like you. We love him. But just a little bit worried about the center, and I'm worried about your defense. Your defense is lagging a little bit. But let me go.
The defense doesn't have the pass rush. I mean, I don't know. We got the guy Huff from the Jets, so he replaced Riddick, Hassan Riddick. But yeah, I mean, we got good corners. Corners are decent. We got two of the best corners in the draft, and so we'll see what happens on defense. I mean, the defense doesn't have to be a great defense; it just has to be a top 20 defense. You got a top 5 offense,
and we don't want. But Aguna, it has to be if we're going to Super Bowl, and we don't want to happen what happened in that Super Bowl against Kansas City. But Cam Jurgens, Stephen, is the center that actually, according to this paragraph, Kelsey kind of put his blessing to and looked at him and liked Cam Jurgens.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see what happens. It should be tight. I mean, Hurts is a good, really good quarterback. He's top 3 in my book. So I think the team and the weapons that Aguna said they have, everything they have is really top 5 offense all the way, maybe top 3. So I'm not worried about y'all. I'm more worried about my formerly known as the Redskins. I'm more worried about them. And the biggest thing is this year is we may be changing the name again. So we all have our fingers crossed for that because I don't know anybody that likes Commanders. We don't like
the stadium changed its name. It's no longer FedEx.
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
It's Northwest Stadium.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Northwest Mutual. I guess they took over. I think it's Northwest Mutual. Well, it's Northwest Stadium now.
Hey, if they take it over, they can call it whatever they want. Now, we have one thing we have good is this new quarterback, the first quarterback we've had in a long time. So we got him number 2, Daniels. I think he's going to help guarantee we get 6 wins this year. I'm very excited about that. I don't think we have that much on defense. We don't have that. We gave y'all a really good receiver for some reason. I don't know. We're just kind of like looking for the future right now. We're just kind of taking it slow. I'm going to bet whatever the over-under is on us. I think it's maybe 7 or 8. I don't know, but I would take the under on the team formerly known as the Redskins because it's going to be a tough year. I mean, they might get sneaking some wins and beat up on the Giants, something like that. I don't know. But I don't have my aspirations aren't too high. So anything that happens above 6 wins, I'm going to be elated. So I think that's a good way to go into the season when you have a team that's basically subpar and you got a new quarterback and you're trying to see what you got. But if this guy's a phenom like he could be, we could win 10 games. So we'll see what happens. We might contend with y'all, but maybe not this year.
Well, the word on the street is you're going to package some of those draft picks that we gave y'all for my man Dotson and go after a Uke.
Oh, man, I hope not because I have him on my fantasy team, and I'd rather him be in a 49er than a formerly known as Redskins.
When did you draft Uke on your fantasy team? When did you draft him?
It was kind of late. We had to draft a couple days ago.
All right. My draft is coming up Sunday.
Yeah, I wish we could. Remember, every year I say I wish we could wait because you get more information, but they want to do it early because people out of town or people out of the country, whatever's going on. Some couple people in the military, so we have to do it when we can do it. But it's too early. I'd rather do it when y'all do. But I like Ayuk. I like him a lot.
So,
but I don't want him at Washington.
I see Miss Ashley. Give me a minute. So,
Stephen,
I see Stephen. You see on the screen, I show you that our FedEx Field, or what does it say? Out. FedEx Field is out. Northwest Stadium is in.
Oh,
right.
Federal, not mutual. So it's Northwest Federal. Okay, gotcha.
Since it's neither in the north or the west, I like the name.
And this is August 27th, 2024, which was yesterday.
That's all right. For a stadium.
Okay, Miss Ashley.
It's going to take a while to get used to it.
So, Stephen, we're going to have some in common this year because Jalen Daniels here is about 5 minutes away. Everybody's 5 minutes away from me from Cajon High School. So he's one of our babies and stuff here.
Oh, wow.
He's a good guy. His parents are good. When I grew up, I had 5 brothers. I was the only girl in the family. So if you didn't watch sports in our house, you didn't watch anything. So I know football very well. I know basketball very well. Those main 2 sports we watch. But I'm going to be watching them this year just because he's playing. I can't sit for hours and hours at a time and watch it Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays, Thursday nights the way I used to. But because he's playing now, I will be, watching him. And I hope they do well this year because, like I said, he's one of our local growing kids and stuff here, and which is about 5 miles for me here at Cajon. So
that's awesome. Yeah,
coming this year to see what happens.
He should be great. I like him a lot. I liked him in college. I think it's going to be wonderful. It's just going to take a little time to gel, maybe, but you never know. He may just come out like a rocket ship. That is very possible.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't trust Dan Quinn in developing young quarterbacks. That's the only thing. If he got a young guy in there that's like, that's going to help mold him and stuff. I just don't want Dan Quinn to throw that young man to the wolves and have him running around back there and getting hurt, because he's got to be able to kind of develop and grow in a very strong system versus just throwing him in there, because they're comparing him to RG3 and how that happened here. So it's like you don't want him to kind of end his career early because you don't have an offensive minded coach.
But you just got to let him be himself. When it's time to run, he's going to have to run. He's just going to have to play like he feels comfortable.
You're going to run behind that offensive line?
You know what? He's going to run because that offensive line is not going to protect him. He's going to have to run away from people. That's what he's going to do. He's that good. He'll be okay. He'll be fine. He's a little bit bigger than RG2 or RG3. I mean, also.
Yeah, y'all going to Tampa the first week, so I think y'all have a shot against Tampa.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good game. we got some parts to this team. It's not terrible. But if we do over 6 games, if we win over 6, I would be really happy. Over 7, 6.5, 7, I'd be very
All right,
happy.
thank you. Let's move on to college football. Aguna, I know you want to talk about the S as in Sam, E as in Edward, C as in cat, the SEC, and the games that are planned. And I'm surprised you don't want to talk about Deion Sanders' team, but
I mean,
let's go with
I
the
am not,
SEC.
Jesus Christ. Granted, I appreciate Dion, you know, and he actually turned that Colorado program around fairly quickly, given that they only had won one game the season before, right? However, it's still one major conference in college football, which is the SEC. And that's where even though the biggest game this weekend, like I was telling you, Stacey, is Georgia versus Clemson. So that's going to be a really good, interesting game, right? I think now that the college football they're going to a wider format when it comes to playoffs. You do have to, you know, previous years every game was basically a playoff game starting in August because there was no room for error. Now
Right.
there is a little bit of wiggle room, but you're also going to get better matchups on the tail end of the season because you got teams in the SEC that would probably destroy any of these other conferences, but because they beat up on each other, they're going to miss the chance at the national title. So it's going to be interesting to see. Now I have very low expectations for my team, which is the South
Which is
Carolina.
the South Carolina Bulldogs right
Well, no, wait,
here.
no, wait. The South Carolina State Bulldogs in the MEAC, I have total confidence
I
in
mean,
them.
I'm sorry, South Carolina Gamecocks.
The
I'm talking
Gamecocks
about the
in the
Gamecocks. I'm
SEC, which
sorry,
is
I
my
meant
Division One A
Georgia.
team, I have very little confidence, if none,
Okay.
with them. However, they do put a lot of receivers in the league, but we'll see. Again, I
So you
think the
look at this
Clemson Georgia
schedule.
game is going to be the big one.
So you see the schedule, and you see South Carolina's against Old Dominion this Saturday, and then Kentucky next Saturday, and then LSU, Akron, Alabama on October 12th, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Clemson. Is that the one you worry about November 30th? And Wolford.
Any game with a team that is ranked on this schedule, the Gamecocks are going to lose. Okay, so that being said, you're looking at a 3-8, 4-out, and they're going to beat Old Dominion. But any other game, I'll be shocked. I mean, Missouri, Alabama. Oh my God, they play at A&M. Okay, but the Gamecocks can lose all those games and beat Clemson, and it'll be a good season for them. So we'll we'll see. But yeah, they're not going to do much. I don't know what Auburn. I don't know. Is Auburn ranked? I don't know if Auburn is ranked this year. But it's going to be interesting to see
Auburn, we'll
what
see.
Alabama does. Yeah. Oh my God,
We'll
I
see what
forgot
Auburn
Oklahoma was.
does.
Yeah. Woo. It's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting year.
Temple. Anyone else for college football? Miss Ashley?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steven?
Mm, I've got a few teams that I like to follow. I don't know, not a conference or anything. And I jump around to who jumps off at me. Like I like LSU anyway. I like Virginia Tech. I like some different teams. And if it's a good story, if something is cool going with it, I'll go along that way. Root for somebody or root against them. But the season needs to start for me because I'm not. I mean, that's another thing I haven't done. I haven't gone to a college game in a really long time, so I need to go to another college. I think I'll go to a Tech game at home just for the kicks of it. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm just not that big into it right now. I'm really head deep into the
Okay.
NFL, but I will get more into college
Okay.
as the season goes.
All
And the
right.
Gamecocks will not win a game this year.
No surprise there, but
All right. So let me go straight into politics, and in particular, let me play this video. Let me share it with you, and then we'll get everyone's opinions.
obtained by CBS News, some filmed as Pelosi was being evacuated from the Capitol.
How many times did the members ask, are we prepared? Are we prepared? We're not. Prepared for the worst. We're calling the National Guard. Now, we should have been here to start out. Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient
That
resources.
is not a question of how they have been. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
Scott McFarland's here with us. Scott, good morning to you.
And Tony, it's quite something. Nancy Pelosi is heard talking about the prompt impeachment of Donald Trump and saying he must pay a price for January 6th. And at one point in the video, she's heard calling him a domestic enemy in the White House and encouraging the invocation of the 25th Amendment to remove him. She's also heard blasting some of the Capitol security officials who'd be out of their jobs hours after the January 6th attack. But all of this puts in context what the House January 6th Select Committee found 2 years ago, that it was Trump who waited 3 hours before urging his supporters who were attacking police to leave that day. Nate?
Scott, thank you.
Okay, so Keith, let's start with you. Should former President Trump have waited 3 hours? 3 hours was too long to wait for that type of attack on the Capitol. I know we sat here and we watched the video from it. It was only a few days after it happened that we talked about it on this show. Keith?
Well, first of all, I'll say that I'll say this, I've said it many times over. A friend of mine was actually there. Thank God they haven't contacted her. But anyway, she was there. She lives in Arizona, but she was there. And she told me exactly what was going on. It's despicable. Nobody was armed on our side. None of the MAGA people were armed. None of them. If anybody was armed, it was somebody, it was a plant. And there were some FBI plants in there, I understand. But based on the video that you showed, Nancy Pelosi was chiding, was upset because the National Guard were not there. They weren't there. And yet Trump called for the National Guard on other occasions, and she said she wouldn't send them. I mean, in other words, she was against it. So I don't know why she thought this was something that the National Guard should be on when she had rejected it in times past when they actually
Trump said he wanted it for this January 6th. Wait a minute, Keith.
Yeah, hold on.
Trump said he wanted it for January 6th, and she said no.
Yeah, she said no. I know that. So that's what I just said. She did not.
Where are you guys getting that from?
And so
oh my God.
And the burning down buildings.
I never heard her say no to the National Guard.
No, that was the BLM. That was the Black Lives Matter.
No, it wasn't. It was a no to the National Guard. Donald Trump requested 10 to 20,000 National Guard, and Nancy Pelosi said no. Donald Trump requested 10 to 20,000, and Nancy Pelosi said no. That's a fact.
Okay, Stephen.
When did he do that? Right. And then why did if he did that, why did he wait 3 hours?
Okay, what do you mean? The reason wait 3 hours?
I just want to know where they got the information
Stop
from.
asking questions, Aguna. You guys are jumping ahead.
All right, my bad. I just want to get facts.
Let's act like we don't act normally since we have a guest with Miss Ashley. So let's act like we don't act normally. Let one person talk at a time, please. It was Keith's turn. Keith, you finished?
Oh, I thought it was my turn.
Yeah,
you jumped in, Stephen.
No, I thought you said go, Stephen.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Rewind it.
I'm not questioning you now. I thought that's what you said.
No, let me just say, I wanted to say that Black Lives Matter were actually armed men, and they were out there with guns and burning down buildings.
And they were killing people.
And nobody.
They were killing people.
Stephen, I didn't just say let's go.
These guys were not armed. They were not.
I'm confused. You said Black Lives Matter stormed the Capitol?
They were not armed.
I don't know what he was saying. Did he say Black Lives Matter stormed the Capitol?
Aguna, don't ask him anything.
They were unarmed. I was
Aguna, ask Stacy. Stacy can
Can
answer
I
it.
ask Keith?
No.
Is he
Ask
saying that
Stacy.
Black Lives Matter stormed the Capitol
No, I said
Okay.
Black Lives Matter was
He's just being
armed
stupid.
when they were
when they were
Thank you.
armed?
city.
When? What are you talking?
Okay.
We're talking about the Capitol.
You go, Guna.
So here's the thing. I know Keith wants to pivot, and always he wants to pivot every time and tell us not to believe our eyes. We saw people spraying beer pepper spray at police. We saw that's being armed. Okay, you have things. They stormed the Capitol. They weren't authorized. They didn't go by the gift shop. Instead of sitting there and defending people who are not behaving rationally in a way they should have been. They shouldn't have been there. They were trespassing. Okay, let's move on from it. All right, you guys are spending too much time trying to defend and say, "Oh, there are plants or all these people." Stop it. They broke the law. We as Americans need to be like, okay, that's bad behavior. Yeah, we may not agree with the election results, but we as Americans don't like seeing that happen. I don't care if it's Antifa. I don't care if it's Black Lives Matter. I don't care anything. Those yahoos should not have been running up there in the Capitol. All right. And I actually commend the Capitol Police, because typically there'd be a lot of bodies on the steps, because I've seen people who've broken barriers at the Capitol and they gunned them down. That happens a lot in DC when they breach the security walls. I'm not talking about what's her name that tried to go in there and deserve to get shot.
Miss
By the
Ashley.
way. So at the end of the day, they violated, they trespassed, and they shouldn't have been there.
They're political prisoners.
Miss Ashley, they did violate. They
whatever.
did trespass. What's your comments on Speaker of the House at the time, Nancy Pelosi's assessment of Trump's behavior during or how he handled that situation?
Yeah, I don't know anything about the 3 hours. I haven't studied that intently, but I did know in his speech he asked him to go peacefully protest. He did say that before he left the stage. Now, people were talking about the National Guard. He did request National Guard 3 days ahead of time, whatever. He said there's going to be a problem here. They're going to have people here. We need to have the National Guard. Nancy Pelosi is in charge of security at the Capitol. That's her job. So when they requested that, she should say, yeah, we're probably going to have a problem. There's nothing wrong with having 5,000 to 10,000 troops here surround this Capitol. So, because we know there's going to be a lot of people here, so that, we wouldn't have this insurgent or this problem. So that's the part I'm at. That's her job as the security officer to do that. It was requested. She turned it down. And the only thing I know about Trump is the end of that speech. He said, we're going to march over here to the Capitol and we're going to protest peacefully. Okay. That's what the Constitution allows you to do. The 3 hours when we waited, I don't know anything about that, but those are the only two comments that I have.
Okay, thank you.
Interesting. So if we're going to quote Trump, so leading up to that, right? And
I don't think your name was called Aguna.
He also said, all right, we're going to do some things. We're going to have an interesting. So he basically incited a riot. I wasn't trying to go into what Trump was saying, but since y'all want to use, like he said, let's go over there and peacefully protest. Let's go over there when they're exchanging power. Well, let's go over there. Let's not pretend like he was just sitting there saying, hey, this is just going to be a nice peaceful. He knew what was going to happen. People, he knew.
No, he did not. He would not want people to go there and cause a riot.
Sales. Come on now.
He doesn't want them to cause a riot. Why would he want that?
Go over there and peacefully.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Stephen. Okay.
Well, if you say for the 3 hours, he made a video and he said, look, do not do any of this. Please go home. This was after it started. He made a video and put it on Twitter. And he said, please don't do this. Go home. We're nonviolent people. This is not what we're about. We don't do anything. We're not BLM. We're not Antifa. We're not a bunch of a-holes. I was cleaning up for my new friend. We're not like that. This is not what we do. Go home. And you know what Twitter did? They kicked him off of Twitter. And that's when Elon came on there and made it X. And Elon exposed Twitter and said how horrible they were. And we all know how horrible Twitter is. Google, Facebook, Zuckerberg just came out. Just came out and told the truth. Wait a minute, everybody. We all know what's going on. So keep telling your lies. Keep spreading your lies, Aguna, because it's all a lie. And January 6th is a lie. And it was a setup from the beginning. And there's a guy that just got sentenced today. Shut up. There's a guy that just got sentenced today to 4 years. He's been waiting 4 years to get sentenced. That's not constitutionally protected justice. These people are prisoners of war,
Okay,
and
thank
y'all
you.
are jerks, and everything y'all say is going to come back to y'all. Watch it.
Thank you.
Everything you say, every lie you
you,
tell
Stephen.
is going to eat your tongue. You're going to swallow your tongue like a Hannibal Lecter movie.
Good. Thank
Cousin
you.
Todd.
Can I point out one thing, Stacy? Stephen said to our viewers, he said the president of the United States, with all the resources he had, went on Twitter and got kicked off of Twitter because he made a video. Think about that, people. And he's trying to justify that as the communication mechanism for the president of the United States.
He made a video when he heard there was a problem. So he made a video. They stopped. They cut the video. They wouldn't let them see. They wouldn't let nobody see the video, Gaguna. How can you twist it up to what you're doing, Gaguna? Gaguna, you're twisting it up.
Thank you, Cousin Todd.
Twitter is the only mechanism of communication.
Our government wouldn't let him speak. They cut him off. They let the Ayatollah of Iran stay on Twitter, but they wouldn't let Donald Trump.
Cousin Todd.
Okay. I want to, and first of all, Stacy, if you tell me to hurry up one time, I'm leaving the show. So, and the reason I say that is because Stephen just went on and on this crazy rant that you just grinned and allowed on your show. So, when this happened,
thank you. Bye-bye.
When this happened, January 6th, Crazy Stephen, and Crazy Keith said just the opposite of what they're saying now. The complete opposite. To quote Stephen, they had no business doing that, and they should go to jail. But you know what, Todd? They were Antifa, and they should all go to jail. They're Antifa. And I said, okay. So if they're Antifa, you want them to go to jail? Yes.
No.
Okay. So now he's switching everything up. They're peacefully protesting. They're war heroes and everything else that you got off the dark web. Now, Trump wanted them to go and do exactly what they did, which is what everybody who's going to jail has said. They said, Trump wanted us to do that. We thought this is what he wanted. So this is what they said in court. You can get those transcripts.
No.
They were duped into believing this is what you should do. And so Trump wanted to go there, but his Secret Service didn't allow him to do that. And if you remember the hearings, the impeachment hearings, this all came out. They talked about it. And they talked about how Donald Trump wanted this. And he watched this, and they're pretending they don't realize that he was watching TV and loving it. And so then when these white male Republicans were calling him, telling him, hey, Donald, do something. Remember, he said to one of them, maybe they care more than you care. See, he didn't stop anything. He didn't want to stop it. He loved it. His daughter called him and said, stop this. So everybody knows that he didn't stop it. He didn't want to. That's a fact. And common sense would dictate that. This is what Stephen and Keith were saying earlier. This was around the time it happened when they were
the day after it happened. We didn't have enough information. We've gotten the information. Somehow it skipped you. The information skipped. We know the truth. We know Tucker Carlson got fired because Tucker Carlson.
Okay, thank you. I gotta move on.
Check the chat.
We gotta move on to something else. We can't spend the whole show on this.
9/11.
Just fact check, Miss Ashley, please, because Trump did not request the National Guard.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
I have an article in the chat that from AP Press that is my source, and they.
Okay, just a moment. Just a moment. Let me show the chat. We have comments from people. Debbie Kelly said, "What's up, cuz? Educate these people." I don't know. Is someone related to Debbie Kelly?
Go on. What is that? Get to it.
Tromo did not request the National Guard.
My bad.
Tromo.
I typed
and then it says, "Oh, here's the AP news article, fact check. I'll try to copy it.
And I wanted to talk
Can you
about that because
can you
when
text that?
Nancy
And then
Pelosi,
Aduna said,
when
"Sorry,
Nancy,
Miss Ashley."
okay, when
Hey.
Nancy Pelosi tried to get the National Guard out, she was refused by one of Trump's flunkies. What's the guy who went to jail?
That's not true.
His
That's not true.
brother.
Hey, hello,
His
Debbie.
brother. His brother said
Oh,
no.
that's your cousin.
Yeah,
Oh,
Oh.
hi, Debbie.
Oh.
I'll be bringing her next week.
You need her. You're gonna
She
need as much help as you
she
can get.
she better than Stacy's cousin.
Ooh.
And that's yeah, that wasn't even funny. He knows he's corny.
That
Anyway,
was
Nancy Pelosi.
Hey,
That
so
was,
Todd, are you trying to get me for what he says, Todd?
no, you're laughing, which you're not even really laughing, but you're trying to humor this monkey.
Hey, you get him for saying that you no help to me. Why don't you do that?
Huh? What are you
Why
saying?
don't you get
see,
the
he's
monkey
proven what
by
I'm
telling
saying.
him?
She's better than him. She'll be better on this show than he is. I mean, that's easy.
Why don't you deal with that? What he just said, Todd.
He's a shiny-eyed monkey. I don't deal with anything he says. Moving on. Now, during January 6th, he was saying the complete opposite, and how Trump was horrible to do this, and you can't
I've never said
disrupt.
Trump was horrible for doing anything.
You did. You said
That's
he
not
wanted that to
true.
happen.
You did.
Oh,
I did not say. I said this was a horrible thing that happened.
You're being
Nobody should win
and
the.
you said
We
they should
didn't
go to
know.
jail
Now
for
we know.
breaking
We
in.
have the tapes. We've
Okay.
seen the tapes. This
Okay,
was a
shut up.
peaceful.
Shut up.
Some of it was a riot,
Peaceful.
but none of this had to
Peaceful.
happen.
Peaceful. It was
People
peaceful.
don't
None of
lie.
this had to happen. This is
You
a
said
political stunt by the
you said they
Democrats
were
to stay in
Antifa
power.
and they should go to jail. You said you know how
Move
they
on.
dress up on
Because we didn't
Halloween.
know. We saw what the media showed us. The media lies to you.
Okay.
Our own eyes, we
We're going to
saw
move
it.
on.
Yeah, they showed you what they wanted
Our
to
own
show you. They didn't
eyes
show you
were
when they
right.
let people in. They let
Yeah.
people in, and they've been in jail for 4 years. They let
I know.
people in for trespass, and they said they were trespassing after they let them in.
We know.
Let's
Stephen.
They went by the
with
gift shop.
Stephen, everyone knows
um,
this was
this
worse
is a
than
Reuters
9/11.
excuse
Right,
me.
that's
This
what
is
they
a Reuters
said.
article. A
They
Reuters
didn't hurt
article.
anybody.
Stephen.
I'm
This is
just
a
tired of it.
Reuters
They didn't hurt
article.
anybody. 2020, BLM and
Tell that we
Antifa
kinda
hurt
died.
people. They killed people.
Thank you.
They didn't
We have
set
to move
anything.
on. Donald Trump faces revised U.S.
You
indictment and
can't keep
election
talking
subversion.
over her, Stephen. Do that to your cousin. Let get a show and do that to her.
Okay. Donald Trump faces revised U.S. indictment in election subversion case. This was written yesterday by Andrew Goodsword and Sarah Lynch by Reuters. And Donald Trump faced a revised federal indictment yesterday accusing him of illegally trying to overturn his 2020 election loss, with prosecutors narrowing their approach after the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that former presidents have broad immunity from criminal prosecution. U.S. Special Counsel Jack Smith's team obtained the superseding indictment in the Washington case, though it was highly unlikely to proceed to trial ahead of November 5th election, when Republican Trump faces Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris. The revised indictment lays out the same 4 charges prosecutors brought against the former president last year. But this one focuses on Trump's role as a political candidate seeking re-election rather than as the president at the time. So let's start with Miss Ashley, our guest. Miss Ashley, your comments or your thoughts on the new indictment charges and how it is focusing on one particular thing that the Supreme Court did not focus on, and whether or not that will make a difference in whether or not former President Trump is charged or found guilty or innocent.
Just one thing. At least he didn't go into the Capitol and pull a fire alarm in order to stop a vote going on. He didn't do that, and it seemed like that guy vote Bowman got off scot-free because of that. That's subverting an election because you try to stop a vote. That is against the law to do things like that, and to pull a fire alarm or false fire alarm also. I just want to throw that out there. Now, as far as all these indictments go and what's going on right now, I looked at a lot of them, whatever. No president has ever been through anything like this. He's been going on with this stuff before he even came down the escalator. He just has to deal with it. I don't know all the ins and outs of the indictments. They're going to keep going after him until hopefully he wins the election and he can kind of let some of this stuff go and get rid of some of this stuff and go on to running this country where he needs to be. But as far as his indictment goes, they're going to keep going on. Smith is going to keep putting this out there. It's never going to end. So one thing I would have to say too, just with indictment they have, just like the one with the records indictment, they're going up against him, whatever. Well, Joe Biden was vice president. This is how things were. He was vice president and he was a senator. He had no right to those stolen documents that he had in his garage. So my thing, I look at this back and forth. How's one party always get a chance to just kind of everything swept on the rug because he's an older gentleman that maybe he couldn't be charged in this kind of situation, but that Republicans continually go after for things that they supposedly have done. I let all that go. I don't worry about it. I mean, if they want to indict him, go ahead. All this going to happen afterwards or after the presidential election's over with. And hopefully that time he can dismiss his charges on himself. And I'm hoping that will happen. But I'm not concerned or, I'm really not concerned about these indictments that go on. They're going to continue to go after him until he gets in office. And hopefully when he does get in office, then he can turn around and really go after people that put this country at risk, that really did things that were against the law. We have a lot of people that did things against law and go after those people and make them accountable, because Democrats seem like never are held accountable for what they did. And they always put Republicans up there. So that's all I would say.
That's because they're in power. That's because they're in power.
Stephen, calm yourself. I want to rebut what she just said. She said she doesn't understand why Joe Biden can get away with that, but they're indicting Donald Trump. And so I'll tell you the difference between them. Joe Biden was vice president, and there was no stolen documents found in his garage. That word stolen means he would have stolen them and took them and hid them in his garage. No, he took them because he was vice president. He's able to do that.
No, he ain't. He cannot take him as vice president.
Dude,
okay.
Relax.
Yeah, you have to stop.
I'm telling a fact. You're telling a complete lie. A vice president can't do it. A president can. He did it when he was a senator too.
Look at Stacey in a daze, just like I always
Stacey,
say.
don't let the lies go like.
She's just in a daze. You got to get him off this show. Now, I'm telling you,
that's all.
You got to get him off this show, because what's happening is your show is turning into Jerry Springer. That's what he wants, and that's what Keith wants. So you and your boy toy can get a show on your own and have all this buffoonery.
We want the truth.
So now,
the truth is Biden cooperated with the National Archives.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Trump did not. They didn't want
Yes, he did.
a scandal.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm gonna stop and let Todd finish out. Todd,
Okay.
You can't talk the whole show.
Oh, look at this. Okay. What I was trying to say was, because I was going to piece it, but so they could understand. Joe Biden was able to take those documents. Vice presidents are able to take those documents. I know you don't know that, Stephen, because you don't know anything at all. So they're allowed to do that. If he wasn't, he would be in jail, you dum-dum. So he was allowed to do that. And he just left him in his, wait a minute, Guna. But what Donald Trump was not allowed to do was take those documents when he was no longer president. Now, I know you're dumb enough to think, yes, he was, because Barack Obama did it. No, Barack Obama did not do that, nor did any other president. But you keep saying he did. Now, Donald Trump stole, which is what Miss Ashley was saying about Joe Biden stole. No, Donald Trump stole documents and took them to Mar-a-Lago. And the government said, hey, Mr. President, could you please return those documents that you stole from the government? And he said, okay. And he pretended
they
to send them back. And so he sent back some of them. And he said, I have no more documents. I sent everything. So then his lawyer said, no, we sent everything back. And they said, you're lying. So that took a year and a half. A year and a half, they're begging for these documents. That's when they sent the FBI to Mar-a-Lago to retrieve the evidence. And those were, but that's the pictures you saw with boxes and boxes of papers that he was not supposed to have, which he was showing off and showing some of his white Republican friends.
Okay,
If
thank
he,
you.
if he did nothing wrong, Stacey,
Ms.
why were they
Ashley
going to
wants to,
prosecute Biden? But they couldn't prosecute Biden because he was too stupid by that
They
time.
didn't
They were
Ms.
going to
Ashley,
prosecute
that
Biden
the
for
vice
doing nothing
president.
wrong.
That
The
makes
vice
They were going to
president,
prosecute him for doing.
Okay.
Vice President
if
Pence
we can
had
finish having a sensible
Vice
conversation.
President Pence had confidential papers in his house.
They all
He
did.
was supposed to.
They
They
all
were
Ms.
did.
going to
Ashley
prosecute
respond.
Biden, but he was too stupid.
The
Okay,
They
difference
thank
weren't
you.
gonna
is,
Okay, let's get Miss
prosecute.
Ashley wanted to make a comment. Go ahead, Miss Ashley.
Yeah, just on that also, there is a presidential records act. So on those presidential records act, Trump is allowed, or presidents are allowed to take certain documents with them. Now, he was in negotiation with them as far as what documents he's going to turn back. But let me just clarify this. As a vice president or as a senator, you have no right to take documents out of the SCIF, classified documentation out of the SCIF, and take it anywhere. You're not allowed to do that. And I work
neither
for
does
the
the
federal government.
president unless he
That's right. But the president, you can. They can have classified documents under the Presidential Records Act. Now, a lot of people have been had some confusion about, well, what does that do? What does that not do? He was in negotiation, what I could keep, what I can't keep, whatever. There was just some conversation about that. Like I said, year and a half. But Biden had some of these documents for decades that he had no right to at all, classified documents. And the only reason that he was
They
not
were not. It wasn't decades.
and I finished.
Decades.
He wasn't
Decades. When he was a
Vice
senator. He
President
took him when he was a
Excuse me, you gotta
senator.
let her finish.
Cousin Todd,
Everybody,
can
you gotta let her
finish?
finish.
Yeah. Only reason, like I said before, when they did did all the investigation with him, they had said he had actually committed actual crimes. He had no right to those documents. The only reason they didn't persecute him or put charge against him, because he said he was probably too senile to, stand before a jury. That's what the verdict was, whatever. But not that he had access to those files and should have had them. He did not. That was never the case, whatever. But the thing about there's older people here in this country all the time that go before a jury and go to jail. My thing is this: if you're too senile to stand before somebody because of documents, how are you not senile enough to run this country?
Well, they never used that term. You did,
So,
but you want to
getting
pretend
back to
that they
the
used that term. Nobody used that word except you.
It
Right,
doesn't
you guys
matter what
don't
word you
have to-
use. The man could not be president, and he
Okay,
could
I
not
gotta
be
move on.
prosecuted
I
because
gotta
he was
move
too
on.
Can
stupid.
I make a comment?
Whatever word you want.
We're gonna let this.
Okay,
He's
okay,
exactly
go
right.
ahead,
She's
Aduna.
100%
You
correct.
can't shut him up.
He's just going off on nonsense.
I'm saying she was 100% correct, and anything you say is going to be a spin or a lie. Anything you're going to say now is going to be a spin or a lie. She just destroyed everything Todd said because Todd lied.
Stacey,
Now, what lies are you going to tell, Laguna?
Look at Stacey.
Let
Look
him
at
talk.
Stacey. Look at Stacey.
Jesus.
This is
All right.
Stacey's show. I'm not coming back
Bottom
here.
line of it is,
This
if
is the
Trump-
dumbest show on. Go ahead, Aguna.
I was going to say,
Aguna, we need to get off
what
this
happens
show.
on this show,
If
and
she
what you see a lot, especially by our so-called conservative counterparts, they always try to deflect and say, "Woe is me! The Democrats get away with it, the Republicans don't," and all this. First thing, both Pence and
who's a
Biden
Republican,
had documents, and they actually volunteered. Biden said, "Hey, I actually have these documents. I don't know if they're classified or not." Trump is trying to use a loophole, or at least he was trying to say that he can declassify the documents prior to
just by thinking about
leaving Mar-a-Lago. Now, Mar-a-Lago is not a SCIF. Miss Ashley just said you can't take it outside the SCIF unless they're declassified. The president has the right to declassify them. He did not do that. Okay, so the fact that he's trying to say after the fact that declassified because I had him down here a couple of months. And again, I cannot emphasize enough, the archives were trying to do this on the low. They say, hey, Mr. President, you got some documents, just bring them back. No harm, no foul. They kept doing it. Then they found out they didn't know where those documents were, and they weren't in a sealed location, and there were foreign dignitaries and people going in and out of Mar-a-Lago. He had them in a closet and stuff like that. They're like, okay, now we got to go down there and get them. Okay, so it wasn't like they were sitting there trying to target him. He had ample time, ample opportunity to give them back or to work with the archives.
He kept lying, pretending he didn't have them.
And so, we get on the show and we try to act like this is some type of no. This is showing how incompetent
next to
Trump
the Corvette.
is.
Wait a minute.
In that position to begin with.
None of what you're saying is true.
Okay, stop.
Again, Stephen keeps on throwing all this.
Thank you. Stop, Aguna. Now I'm going to show comments from our live participants, listeners, viewers. Debbie Kelly says Pelosi and the mayor of D.C. both in writing denied Trump's request for 10,000 National Guard prior.
They don't have the authority to do that. They don't have the authority.
And then Aguna said,
yes, they do.
They don't.
Stop talking.
As Speaker of the House, you cannot deploy the National Guard.
Okay. No evidence, Aguna said. Then Aguna said, read the article. Then he said he made a comment 30s. What do you mean by comment 30s?
He made a comment 30 seconds before the attack. Oh, they need to put the National Guard out there. He said that. He didn't put in anything in writing or send any, there was no order given. That's a conspiracy theory, just like Antifa being in the crowd.
And then Debbie Kelly said they were FBI agents dressed as Trump
sure. Yeah, they were FBI agents. Let them in the Capitol. That gives validity to everything. The FBI.
And then Debbie Kelly said they were invited to go into the Capitol by the police.
Come on in, guys.
They even had the badges from the gift shop.
You haven't seen the footage? Y'all haven't seen the footage where they weren't allowed to come in? They opened the doors and let them in? You have seen the footage, right? Or are you going to lie to me?
Conspiracies are facts. I want you all to stop talking so I can get through this.
We've seen the footage.
Stephen is loud as F by You Gotta Love YouTube. Debbie Kelly says Trump is not allowed to call in the National Guard or anything, Pelosi. And then Aguna says she can't deny a request if it was given. And Debbie says they were worse than Antifa. They were inside the government, just like inside the government trying to assassinate him. Aguna says, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, our government tried to kill Donald Trump. So
facts are like kryptonite to Chris. It's in writing. Kash Patel has it in his possession, and now it's public. And then, hi, baby, love you. Who's that to?
Is that Debbie?
That's Debbie.
Yeah, that's my cousin. Hey, baby, love, baby. Thanks, Debbie. Thanks for all the truth that you're sharing amongst all these lies.
It sounds.
Can I come on your show while I'm driving my truck at night? No, we don't want you to crash.
Yeah, we don't want you to crash. You're the backbone of America. That's the backbone of America, the American
We want
truck.
you to be stationary, and we want you to be safe, Debbie. I have to move on. We can't stay on this. The problem is, I think everyone stays on a topic too long. We stay on a topic too long.
But
we get very passionate about it.
You think that's the problem? You don't think the problem is Stephen going crazy like a nut job?
No, I didn't. If y'all would let Trump live, he will win, and all the truth will drown you. You will drown in all the truth.
All right, thank you.
If you let Trump live, let Trump live.
That dialogue doesn't help. You're not making
let
any
Trump
facts,
live.
and you're not saying any facts.
No, we said all the facts. We have all the facts. Y'all have nothing.
All right. So
Lies.
Vice presidential candidate, what's his name?
Oh, he's so dumb and ignorant until it hurts my feelings.
Walls?
Good Lord.
No, the Republican.
Oh, J.D. Vance?
J.D.
Yes.
J.D.
Yeah.
What about
fun of his name? Wow.
What about J.D. Vance?
He's weird.
Vance.
He is.
You're saying he's weird?
No, I'm saying it's weird because everybody on the left said he was weird because he has normal values. He's weird.
Okay.
I'm going to show this video. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this video. I'm trying to do all this at the same time. And you guys talk and you do stuff. And I'm trying to show the videos. Well, a video resurfaced about J.D. Vance and his comments about teachers So let me play this. It says, while
Yeah,
running for Senate.
You know,
uh-huh.
so many of the leaders of the left, and I hate to be so personal about this, but they're people without kids trying to brainwash the minds of our children. And that really disorients me and it really disturbs me. Randy Weingarten, who's one of the most powerful teachers union in the country, she doesn't have a single child. If she wants to brainwash and destroy the minds of children, she should have some of her own and leave ours the hell alone.
Okay. Here we go
So he's
again,
facing criticism
bashing
for that.
women. He hates women. And I knew that when I first looked at him. Here we go again, bashing women who don't have children. Now, Keith doesn't have any children. So does Keith get bashed for that? And he's poisoning the minds of our children. Let him have some kids of his own. That is so backwards until I don't even have words for it. And the fact that Keith would go along with that instead of saying, hey, I don't have any kids. I'm not poisoning anybody's minds. That was ridiculous. That statement, this is on top of women don't have children. They're cat ladies and they're miserable. Are you sick? This boy is completely insane. Did anybody see when he went to the ice cream shop or the donut shop to get donuts? He's so stupid. He doesn't even know how to relate to people.
He's just socially awkward, man. He's
And
socially
All right,
awkward.
Todd, you can't talk the whole show. Can you make your point succinct?
oh, look. This only Steven can talk the whole show. So anyway, J.D. Vance is a typical white Republican male Trump supporter who hates women. And
Okay, thank you.
okay, I'm not finished.
We don't hate
I'm going to
women.
talk about he hates women.
He doesn't
And
hate women. He's married to a woman.
hey,
If he hated
shut
women,
up.
he would be
I'm not
married to a
talking to
man like
you.
Buttigieg. He'd be married to a man if he hated women.
Okay, would you shut him up, Stacey?
But
Did you say to him,
Buttigieg hates women. That's
Why can't you mute him, Stacey? You allowed him. Get him off.
He
Get
just-
him out of here.
It
Get
is
him off
kinda
the
cool.
show.
Go ahead, Todd. Go ahead, cousin Todd.
Why can't you get him off this show, Stacey? I'm telling you,
He's triggering you, Todd. Stop it.
he's not. What do you
Let
mean
him have
triggering
his
me?
tantrum.
Todd, go to your safe space, Todd. Go to your safe space.
He's not triggering me. It's just that my friends watched this show and they said this white
imaginary
boy is making
friends.
your show look like Jerry Springer. You have no business on a Jerry Springer show, Todd.
Go
So-
ahead with your point, Todd. I got to get to Keith to
Okay.
rebut what you had to say.
Okay, J.D. Vance is a sick, woman-hating, white male Republican who just hates women for being women. Why else would he talk about women who don't have any children? What is that? What does he have to do with that? What does he have to do with? Oh, they're miserable. They're nothing but cat ladies. So they would have to get a man, see, to make them whole. And they would have to get impregnated to make them whole by some sick freak like him. I cannot deal with that
Okay,
lady
thank
boy.
you. Thank you, Keith. Your comment on JD Vance's comments resurfacing about women. This is like the second time it's resurfaced about, and he talked specifically about Randy Weingarten, president of the Teachers Association.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm not going to defend what he said. I'm not going to defend, neither will I condemn what he said about women. You know, when he said, if a woman doesn't have children, therefore she shouldn't be involved in that sort of decision. I won't defend that, and I'm not going to condemn it any more than I'm going to defend or condemn when they tell me that because I am a man, I should not talk about abortion. I have no authority.
Nobody said that.
No, I've had that said. Okay, so they say that men
Not
should
doing
not be
this
involved
show.
in the abortion debate.
Okay.
Men should not be involved because they're men.
Okay.
We don't have to go through what the women have to go through. Okay, but yes, it is a part of us as
Right.
well, and it is for a good
Okay.
society.
Thank you.
So I would
Well,
say,
just to be clear, nobody on this show said that to you.
In conclusion, I would say that I will say that what he said is interesting. I've never heard anybody say that before. So
Interesting
but,
or backwards?
it's just interesting that he said that because
Okay.
the left, they don't really
Wait
care
a minute,
about
Guna.
the left does not care about family.
Whether a woman has a
about
baby or not. No, we don't care about that.
They
Okay,
don't
thank
care.
you, Todd. Todd, stop. Miss Ashley,
Yeah,
your
just going to
comment.
take this conversation in a different direction here. I hear what everyone is saying. I did a lot with kids. Like I told everybody, I ran a football league. I was blessed to have a son at 37 years old. Should never had him with 2 grandkids. And I'm here in California. So we only have about 6 million kids here in our school system in California. Only about 300,000 Black kids left here. Okay. Out of our California boys here that do graduate high school, 50% of them can't read, can't write, can't do math. Those kids are ending up on the street or on drugs. If we don't change this trajectory on right now, and we the smartest one in the toolbox, we are not going to survive here as a community. So I would like to see more talk about what we can do for as positive thing to help these kids that are struggling. When I was growing up, but it was basically based on the family unit. We had about 80 to 85% of families were moms and dads. Now you have 80 to 80% single moms. And what happened, we've destroyed our family units. And then we left God as that one in our life that created who and what we are as a people. That's why we're so strong. We were scientists, mathematicians, inventors, doctors, everything. There's none of that going on anymore. And these school systems are doing our kids a disservice. Now in California here, it's butts in the seat. They don't care about whether the kids are learning out, which most of them are not learning, but it is every child that is in the seats, they get dollar amounts for those. If they have this thing now they call defiant disobedience, whatever, that Governor Newsom signed, whatever, you could beat a teacher up, you're going to be in school the next day. You know why? Because they need those dollars. If we don't change this trajectory on at where we're on right now, especially for our Black kids, whatever, we are suffering big time, going to be suffering more. We got to get a way to get these school system and teach these kids language and arts and science and stuff. It's in us, but they need the men and women in their lives, whether single or not, that's going to help them with that. One thing
Whether they're single or not.
One thing I want to say, this is that for Shreveport, Louisiana, some people know that is, they had a school that was on the television set. They had fights day in and day out. They couldn't survive, whatever. We had some Black men that showed up. It was a Black men on camps, whatever. They said, we had enough. They showed up at that school. Within one day, they stopped. Everything stopped. Those kids said, this is as safe as ever been. About 50 or 60 of them came up to that school system. It called Dads on Duty. We need to do more of that as far as helping our children. But all these other conversations that we're having and what somebody said years ago, listen, all of us said things years ago that maybe we don't believe, but now we could use a lot of things against us. What are we doing now to help these children?
Right.
That's Black kids.
I think that's a good point, Ashley. What do we do now to help these children? Todd, I got to bring other people in here. Go ahead.
No,
Let me just talk about J.D.
You
Vance
can
real quick.
elect J.D. Vance, and that'll help our children.
The problem with J.D. Vance
Aguna.
and the problem with his messaging is because he's coming across, a lot of these things that are coming out are things he said previously, right? So these are things that he said when he was making his rounds. And unfortunately, because of the primary system and because of the districts and things like that, he's going for the biggest shock value. So for a social awkward person like J.D. Vance to try to get media airplay, he was saying these comments that are resurfacing now, which makes him a liability for Trump on the national stage. But at the time, he was saying them in order to do exactly that, to appeal to the audience that he was talking to, which was primarily a far-right audience. So now, fast forward to today, where you're looking at a national election, they come back to haunt you, especially when your talking point is that Kamala Harris is a chameleon, or Kamala Harris has changed her viewpoints. When you were on record saying that Trump was Hitler, when you were on record as a never Trumper, now you're going back talking about these cat ladies. Now you're coming forward. Now all these things are coming to surface, but you're going to try to use those as attacks on Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's record. So it comes across as disingenuous and as a hypocrite, which is why he's a liability on the ticket. Because not only is he socially awkward, he's saying all these things because he was playing to the cheap seats behind the scenes. Now you're in front of a national audience, and now you got to pay the piper because people don't like hearing that crap.
I don't know if he was playing to the cheap seats or he really believes that, because he also said, which
he believes
later, that he hates the police. Well, he hates the police.
And you know what? Let me get Stephen in here. Stephen, Let me get Stephen in, and
And
then
I can
and then we
understand
have.
why black men hate the police. Because if I was black, I'd hate them too.
Okay, let me get Stephen in, and then I'm going to get Nunya. Welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. Stephen,
Yeah,
on JD Vance's comments.
I think JD was back then, his comments back then, he was painting with too broad a brush. You can't, you can't, there's so many, there's so many individuals when it comes to teaching and schools and everything. There's so much individuality that you can't paint with such a broad brush. So that, I don't know why that's how it was years ago. But there's good teachers, there's good cops, there's bad cops, there's bad teachers.
No,
And
not if they're not married
I'm
with
speaking,
children. They're horrible.
I'm talking. There are
Not
good.
if
There are
they're
good cops. There
not
are
if
bad
they're
cops. There are bad
single with
teachers.
no
There
children.
are
They're horrible.
teachers.
They're
There are
cat
teachers
ladies.
that encourage little children to mutilate their bodies and ruin themselves for the
They're
rest of
cat
their
ladies.
lives. And this is happening in our public schools. They're more worried about changing these kids' sex instead of doing the right thing and encouraging them to love them for being themselves. They encourage them to get sex changes and do things to mutilate their bodies
Who
and to
told
make
you
them
that? JD Vance?
a medical victim
Stop
for the rest of
that.
their lives. They have to be a
Okay,
medical
thank
victim
you,
for the rest of
Stephen.
their life. Because you know what? A lot
Who
of
told
teachers,
you that? JD
maybe
Vance?
JD Vance is right in some ways. There's a lot of teachers that do not care about these kids. If they did, they wouldn't be trying to cut off their testicles. Thank you,
Thank
Stacey.
you, Nunya. Nunya, we're talking about JD Vance's comments resurfacing about single women without children.
Thank you, Stacey, for letting me in. Salute to the panel, the highly esteemed panel that I'm sure is handling these topics very well. Let me just say this. I think if Trump had his druthers, he would call Peter Thiel and cuss him out and say, "Why did you saddle me with this person who's an anchor to my campaign?" JD doesn't provide anything of substance to his campaign. Everything is about putting out the fires that JD himself created. And those comments are kind of typical of him. I think Aguna gave a great analysis on it, though, talking about how when you're an outsider or politically you don't really have a background like that, the best way to rally up support is to be as controversial as possible. We've seen people do this online for years. So he thought he was setting himself up for the future, and in reality, he was creating a situation where his future is now marred by his past because his comments were so ridiculous. And the bad part is he can't personality his way out of this. Watch that man in that donut shop. Now tell me,
No
what
personality.
awkward 14-year-old, like normally somebody at this level of politics on a ticket this big is a charismatic person that can walk into a room full of donors and charm them and walk out with a check. JD goes in there and Trump has to probably run interference to make sure he doesn't, weird out some of the people who are in attendance. So those comments are just one of many. I've got a better one I'll give you later, Stacey. I'll read later on the show. But yeah, man, this is.
Is it about hating
JD
cops?
Vance.
Is it about JD saying he hates cops?
No, it's not that one. It's one. It's one anti-Trump one that he had where he
Okay.
really kind of let the chopper sing and went into how much he hates Donald Trump. But there is a world
Something
where
like
Donald
what
Trump
Steven
loves
said.
having to make this man grovel for his position and apologize for the things he said about him in the past. I think ultimately we're going to see this dude get shelved, and we'll probably see more of RFK next to Trump than we will see the person who's running for vice president. Because, I mean, dude, he brings nothing to the table.
No.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on. Let me share this
And
screen
especially
with you so
with
I can show
women.
you.
Trump needs women on his side. And this boy is like a deterrent for women.
All right.
He did not lead the party with many women.
Not an apparent incident at Arlington National Cemetery earlier this week involving members of the Trump campaign and a cemetery official. Former President Trump was at that cemetery on Monday to mark the 3rd anniversary of the attack outside the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. That attack killed 13 U.S. service members and more than 150 Afghans. NBC News correspondent Garrett Hake is following the Trump campaign. He joins us now from Washington. So, Garrett, what more can you tell us about this incident and what are both sides saying?
Ziegler, the more I've reported this story, the more interesting and nuanced it has become. This started with an incident, we were told, an altercation between Trump campaign staff and Arlington staff over access to shooting photos or video in Section 60. That's where many of our new war dead are buried. The cemetery put out a statement, which is rare in and of itself, saying that federal law prohibits the creation of any kind of campaign video or campaign content in the cemetery. The Trump statements originally dealt with the idea that he was there at invitation of the families who died, of Gold Star families who lost someone at Abbey Gate, and talked about an individual person who was basically trying to screw that up by blocking their access. What we have seen since is that the Trump campaign and their allies did in fact create campaign content out of this visit. They created a TikTok video set to music showing the former president laying a wreath. You see him there smiling in another photo at a gravesite in Section 60. Now, he was invited to that gravesite by the mother of that Marine who died at Abbey Gate. That's all well and good, but in other photos, you see other graves of people who had nothing to do with Abbey Gate or nothing to do with Donald Trump. And when you talk to veterans or when you talk to people who take the kind of sacred nature of these military cemeteries seriously, they say that it's not up to one individual family to decide how everybody else will be remembered, and it's certainly not appropriate for one family to allow for one political candidate of their choosing to essentially campaign on hallowed ground. This is not the last we've heard about this story. We're continuing to talk to the Trump campaign, and we'll see what more reaction we get from military families about this as the day goes on. Sinclair?
We know you'll stay on it. Garrett Hake, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
That is disgraceful, to say the least. And he's laughing.
How is it disgraceful? A family lost their child and they invited Trump. There's nothing disgraceful about it. If anybody else wanted to invite somebody, they can invite them. How could you wouldn't say it was disgraceful if it was Obama?
I'll tell you.
Did he go last year?
About it.
Did he go last year?
What's disgraceful about
Obama?
it is that
no. Did Trump go last year?
Don't ask him that, Aguna. He's just was
he invited last year? He was invited, so he got an invitation and he went.
Control your show. This is the Jerry Springer show. Try to control it. So he only went there because he's running for president. So he will use anything. He has no shame. Now, military people don't like this. And he's not scoring any points with them. Nobody films at the cemetery, Arlington National. That is unheard of. You've never heard of any president doing that before this nut job. And so for you to pretend, what's so big about that? But this is how he's dumbing down America. Nothing is a big deal. So what? You didn't serve at Arlington. You didn't get killed. None of your people are killed laying out there. And certainly none.
It might be a cousin I don't know about.
Father never served. Trump never served. None of his brothers or sisters, none of his children, nobody. He thinks they're for suckers and losers. And like he said, what's in it for them?
Okay, thank you, Cousin Todd. Let me ask Mr. Asher, you are a military, you come from a military family. You said your family, you traveled a lot growing up because was your father in the military, Miss Ashley?
Well, not only was he in the military, he's a veteran. I'm also a military veteran of the Air Force.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your service. You are a military veteran.
Saying
you
that
put your life on the line for our country.
I was never in the combat. There's a certain thing between being a combat veteran. I was a veteran, and I used to transport patients and equipment from the flight line to the hospitals and warehouses, things like that. So I never was put in a combat situation, but we could be called upon at any time. So there are a lot of veterans that support him. Let me tell you one thing about Abbey Gate and what happened there for the Bagram Air Force Base. Because what happened is that when we were there about 20 years, whatever, in Afghanistan was quiet, okay? We didn't have any, women were doing fine, they were work. I'm just telling you before Biden took over, okay? Now,
true. Let her talk. Let her talk, guys.
I'm sorry. Because I know people that were stationed there, so I'm like, that's not what he told me.
Or Arguno, let her talk.
Hey, go ahead.
Well, listen, you guys, I
didn't hear that. Go ahead, Miss Ashley.
So what happened was that in that particular situation is that the Taliban, before that period of time when Trump was in, they had killed one service member. And Trump said this: if you touch another hair on a military service member, I'm going to kill you. And what he did, he had the interpreter in the room delay that message to the Taliban. He showed a picture of where they are, and he walked out the room. Now, F with me or America again if you want to. You or none of your family living. Now, as a military people, you never take your troops out first. You take them out last. You get all your people out first. You take you get their people out first. You take the equipment out after that, and then you take the military people out. They let all the military people, when you see those pictures of people hanging on the planes because they know what's coming their way, whatever, all the people that were slaughtered after that period of time, what we left, we never leave situations like that. That's the first time in history that's ever happened. Troops always stay there and take care of the people there. Women were doing fine. They had businesses. They were working in that environment. They were going to school. Once the Biden and them left, the Taliban came in, and all that changed in a short period of time. They were tracking down people and slaughtering them if they supported the American troops at that time too. That is not the way we do things in the military. So it was done incorrectly. It was done wrong. Then we left $80 or $90 billion worth of equipment there that they're just riding around in the streets with our tanks and machine guns and everything. We never do anything like that. So everything about that withdrawal was wrong. For somebody to take credit for that is wrong also. And just one thing about Watts, about the vice president for Kamala Harris, whatever. Yes, he served in the National Guard, honorably. That was good. The thing that got him in trouble, which is coming up, is that just like me, you cannot lie about your military service. If you didn't serve during that time, or you weren't, with machine guns and you weren't in combat, that's fine. I wasn't. I can say that. I'm still a veteran, but I'm not a combat veteran. So we need to take these stories, understand where they are. But one thing for sure, there's a lot of military people that support Trump because he has supported the military or whatever. And what they've done for there and all the other situations we've been in is a shame before God, what they put this country in and what they did those people in Afghanistan when they left them there to die. And that's what happened. And for all our terrorist people to die.
Yeah.
We talked about that. We talked about that when it happened.
Okay, wait a minute. Everybody's talking at once. Wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah, I believe I had the floor because I raised my hand first. I think y'all saw it on camera.
We didn't see your hand, Nunya.
Let me get her. Let me get her.
Hold on. So first things first, we were talking about Trump using the bodies of people's relatives as a photo op. That was the question. That was the topic. That was the conversation. Somehow we shifted to Afghanistan, to one of his other lies, where he said only one person was killed. And this cartoonish idea that somebody can walk in a room and threaten the Taliban and they get scared. They're the Taliban.
They've been fighting for thousands of years.
Thousands.
Scared of Trump.
Hold on.
Yeah. They don't want to die.
No, they don't care.
I think they've come to grips with death for a long time ago, if you're talking about a member of the Taliban. So, no, they were not scared by anything that Trump said. Violence was still rampant all throughout Afghanistan. That's a big part of the reason why the Trump administration came to the deal they made with them, even though the deal was done by Biden. But again, let's not get sidetracked because somebody wanted to avoid an actual. Because somebody
Taliban.
Oh, Aguna, hold on.
Wait.
1 year, no one died.
That's not true.
Yeah, it's not true. This is not true. It's been fact checked by the
Nunya, please sum it up because everybody's
he's not going to sum it up.
Let me finish if y'all quit cutting me off. So this has been fact checked by the AP, Reuters, any news organization you want to find. You can find that Trump told a lie when he said that only one person died. There were car bombings, kidnappings, beheadings, all types of violence that the Taliban is known for. So again, when we have somebody so disgraceful that they're acting like a 15-year-old TikToker to where they have to get this photo and this video at a sacred area, I mean, people should be disgraced. And as far as military support for this, I think if we go to TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook, we can see the metrics actually show it's going the other way. He did not gain support for this. People are ridiculing the video because they're showing.
Y'all are looking for anything against Trump.
Because they are showing the staging of the photos and video. And I just think it's really dishonest when somebody avoids the actual question and brings up, a red herring, like talking about Afghanistan when it doesn't apply to the thing.
Let's be clear about Afghanistan.
Let's
be clear about Afghanistan. In 17 days, we pulled out 120,000 people. The military, that at the time that we pulled out, the military was down to less than 9,000 troops in country. So the fact that they pulled that off, and don't get me wrong, the fact that we lost 13 lives is a tragic situation. But given the deal that Trump had with the Taliban to allow them to continue to sell drugs, to allow them to basically run the country, because at the time there was a corrupt Afghan government. Trump, military advisors on the ground came to him and said, look, we're not going to win this thing. These people are corrupt. They're stealing all this money. So Trump made a deal with the Taliban to say, let's get the hell out of here. Biden came to office and honored the deal. And at the time, it was a very chaotic situation. We pulled 120,000 people out in 17 days. That a military operation like that has never been conducted in the history of mankind, and maybe Dunkirk, okay, in World War II. And if you think about it, Donald Trump went in there. The confrontation was because he was trying to film in Area 60, which is where newly soldiers had come back and had been killed. And they were like, look, you can't come over here. You can't come over here and film this. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than a photo op. And if he cared so much about the fallen 13, the first thing he did when he left the cemetery, he didn't say their names. He didn't say, hey, thank you for your service. He sat there and railed into the pullout in Afghanistan, any of what y'all are repeating from the dark web on this show today. So it was disingenuous, just like holding the Bible upside down in the church across the street from the White House. He's just
okay. Thank you, Aguna. Stephen.
No, they have nothing substantial on Donald Trump. They come up with all of this garbage, and it doesn't make any sense. He was allowed to be here. He's doing his. But if he was to sneeze, anything he does is gonna it's what you go after. Y'all have nothing on him, nothing on JD Vance. We cannot talk about policies on this show at all. Why aren't we talking about any policy at all? We're talking about something stupid about Donald Trump offending people some kind of way. Why aren't we talking about policies tonight?
We can.
Whenever
we never do. We never do. How about Kamala flipping the switch constantly?
We're going to talk about one policy, and then we're off the air because we're out of time. We're going to talk about one policy. One policy.
Let's go.
Cousin Todd, where are you? Or Asuna, do you want to talk about the one policy and make it a quick policy?
Let's talk about any policy. We're going to talk about taxes. We're going to talk about abortion. We can talk about policy. Oh, I know.
What do you want to talk about, Stephen?
Let's talk about a fun one. The border. Let's talk about the border.
All right, go ahead with the border.
You like that? Now, let's talk about the border. Again, it's a mess. But on this show, we continuously talk about immigration, but I think we cloud it with
Let's talk about the policy. Talk about American policy with the border crossings. Let's stick to the policy.
Let's stick to the policy. We had a bipartisan bill on the table. I don't think it's within the executive branch's purview to do something about the border. I want to force Congress and the legislative branch to come together and make a decision. They had a deal on the table, and Trump said, "Don't do it because I want to run on this issue." And here
that's not true.
Why wasn't the bill signed then? And it was mostly bipartisan conservative bill.
No, it wasn't. It would have made the situation much worse. That's why the Republicans didn't want it.
Not because Trump wanted to run on it.
No, it's not running on it. Trump doesn't need to run on it.
Okay, Ms. Ashley, do you want to talk about the border bill that was killed by former President Trump?
So when Trump was in office, one of the most secure borders we had, that we had the Remain in Mexico policy we had there, and then also we had he ended the catch and release. Now, those are two things that were in place when Biden came to office. Day one, day two, he got rid of all that, whatever. What we see now is a massive amount of humanity just come across that border. And where they're going? To the inner cities and to the Black communities. When they get here, what do? They put them up in hotels, give them food cards of $10,000, $13,000, whatever. Here in California, the Governor Newsom just signed a bill that if you're illegal here, haven't paid no taxes, we're going to give you $150,000 tax-free money for you to get a home, and you get with no interest, that whatever. Now, Black people and other people have been here, living on the street and suffering. People that help
white people too.
have been given all this stuff, veterans on the street and stuff. But if you look at Chicago and other people like that, place like that too, that's going on here in California, how are you letting all these people in that are illegal? You have no right for our taxes. You have no right to be in this country. You need to go back home and come through the right way. So my thing is this, with the bill they had, it wasn't anything that stopped illegal immigration. Matter of fact, it enhanced it. That's why they said, no, we don't want to do that. The House had one in place. The House had one in
Let her talk, Aguna.
The House had one in place that they said to the tenant they couldn't get that around. There's no playtime with that. But this particular one was going to enhance immigration more, where they would let 4,000 or 5,000 people come over every day into this country, which would build up more. But you have 15 to 20 million people that crossed that border in the last 3 years, whatever. We only got less than 40 million black people, whatever. Once these people start having babies, they're part of this country, after this is our last election that we're going to have any say so. After that, we're going to be down the bottom of the totem pole because we just don't have the numbers anymore.
Right.
Thank you.
And they
Keith,
threw you away. The Democrat Party.
That was the point. You're scared of being replaced.
Excuse me, Keith, then Stephen, then Nunya, then Cousin Todd, and we're off. Keith.
I'm going to go straight to the Constitution, something that, something that Aguna and Todd and Nas probably despise, but I'm going to do it anyway.
We've
it says
said
here in Article 2.
No, I don't despise that. We don't despise it. We just know it's not written for you.
Okay, all right. Article 2, Section 3. It talks about, this is the duty of the President of the United States. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed and shall commission all of the officers of the United States. Now, Trump was enforcing immigration law. He did not need another act of Congress, another law of Congress in order to do it. The laws are already on the books and they're already in place. It's been said by Speaker Johnson that they did not need to do anything in Congress. It was up to the executive. So Biden was the executive. This is his job to enforce the laws that are already on the books. Trump already had in place, you talk about policy, Aguna, Trump already had a policy in place where Title 42, that you leave them in Mexico, okay? That they would be left in Mexico until the time of their, hearing and so forth. But Biden lifted that Title 42. He lifted it and he abolished it. So there you go.
That's not true. He just said stop separating kids from their family.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Stephen, did you get a chance to go?
No, I haven't yet.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Well, we've let them. They have the left has destroyed this country, and there's still people even on this show that I can't believe. I know y'all don't like to show your face, but we have a wide open.
Stephen, you asked for a policy. So let's stick with what you asked for. You said let's talk policy on this show.
Yeah. I'm saying we have a wide open border. This is policy. We have a wide open border, not just a wide open border. We also have illegals that are flown into this country because there's so many people coming over the border. It was embarrassing. Our country flew these people here to different parts of our country, and they're taking over our country. These are millions of people that are unvetted. These are millions of people from all around the world that are here now, and she's right. She's exactly right. They're gonna wipe out the black people, but they're gonna wipe out everybody else as well, because that's what we don't even know what these people are capable of and who they are. We know they come from countries that hate us. We know they come from countries that hate us. We know they are terrorists that are here. We don't know what mayhem they're going to cause, and the left caused all this. And Aguna is saying, "Dude, it's so scary." Aguna's saying that. Aguna, for you to be for that, you must be a real part of that. But you know, if you don't kill Trump, then Trump said he's going to get rid of these people the best he can. But you know what? I think it might be a little too late, and it's because of people like you that destroyed this country. We'll never forget you. We will never forget what you did and everything you did to lie, cheat, steal, and murder to stay in
Well,
power. We will never forget the
Go
left.
home. Get up.
We
Get up.
will
Okay,
never
thank you.
forget
Look at
you.
Crazy Keith. Look at
We
Keith.
will
Look at
never
Keith.
forget you.
Look what Keith is doing.
No, there's no way. We know you have to. You're not a stupid person. You're not a
Okay,
stupid
thank you.
person. There's no way you can be this way.
I have the flag in
Okay,
your
thank
soul.
you. Nanya.
Oh, I missed the past couple of minutes. I came in at the end of his rant. I don't know what he's talking about. I heard border. I heard mayhem.
We're
I
talking
heard
about
we're
border
all gonna
policy.
die.
Stephen went back to Africa.
We're talking.
More
Do
that
you want to comment on border policy between Democratic and Republican border policy, and which one makes sense?
Okay. How about this? Since people love to get into this topic, in 1990, you know what the border patrol budget was? For
75
anybody
million?
Nope, 290 million. Today it's
Okay.
4.9 billion. The states that are
Wow.
most affected could easily solve this problem. They choose not to because it's good to run election cycles on. It's good to hype up your base. The people who are frothing at the mouth and assuming that the others are always coming for them and trying to take their stuff. This is how you appeal to those people without policy. You just constantly demonize and bring up that, you know, the hordes of caravans of people are coming to get you and take your stuff. But as far as Dems, Kamala Harris actually did a good job. She was positioned as a person to be the pivot for South and Central America. She's dealt with 3 countries. And the issue was, how do we get these countries to not have so many people trying to come over to the United States or seek sanctuary anywhere else? So addressing the issue at its root, that's how you actually solve the thing. The answer is not, we're going to round up people until the issue is solved. Just think of it in these terms. If there was a liquor store that was selling alcohol to teenagers, you wouldn't just come and keep arresting the teenagers. Eventually, you'd have to get to the root of the problem, which is the gentleman selling it to them. So same conversation with the border. If you actually are worried about it, you need to have what? Conversations and strict control and deals with these other countries. So therefore, you can solidify their base so they don't have so many people fleeing their country. But if you just think it's just going to be a roundup every 60 days and you present that as your global initiative, think about what this means for America long term. Brain drain. That means foreigners who see the U.S. as adversarial decide to go to Germany, France, England, Japan. They go to other places, and we lose that ability as far as tech-wise, medical-wise, everything else that you're going to need going forward. We lose that strength coming from overseas because we got this myopic idea that everything was fine until the illegals showed up, and we present it to people as if it's actual policy. And never forget, the Dems and Republicans came to a bipartisan agreement. Donald Trump made a phone call and quashed all of it because he wanted to run on the border so he can get the foaming at the mouth racists and angry people to believe that this is the actual thing that matters in your life. When in all reality, man,
there's white people coming into this country.
Hey,
how is it racist?
Hey, it's not your turn. Relax.
It's not racist.
It's not your turn. Relax. I said you were racist and people like you were racist. I didn't say white people were racist. I said you.
How am I racist?
Now you got clarity?
No, how am I racist?
Your political positions. You said the N-word on this show. You made a joke about MLK dying last week. You said many racist things on the show.
I didn't make a joke about that. I didn't make a joke about that. I said the same people who killed who killed Martin Luther King Jr. are the same people who tried to kill Donald Trump.
You honored Aunt Jemima during Black History Month. I think that's as racist.
That's who you are, man.
Okay, so
You are a passive-aggressive white supremacist.
Since I'm talking to Nanya, Nanya, look at this, and everybody, just not Nanya, but look at this, the Georgia election rule. I want you to address that, Nanya, because we know you are a fan of the Atlanta Falcons. So listen to this. Georgia Election Board voted 3-2 to allow county election board members. Democrats sued Georgia state election officials alleging new rules are illegal. Both parties
The election board is a mess.
I would prefer that sometimes they make rules based on having worked at polling places before, and I don't think a lot of the board members have in the past. Same with the legislators when they make new laws. So they would be very well served to keep in touch with the actual people on the ground to see how the laws and rules might affect us.
If you look at Georgia in a whole, we have wonderful counties that know what they're doing. And I think the state election board needs to look at that. They need to take the politics out of it. They should all be sitting up there with eyes open, ears open to the actual process, not the politics, because it's not about politics, it's about our voters.
Okay, Nanya, please comment on what Georgia did with that law.
Yeah, so for clarity, there are 3 pro-Trump people who got on the election board with this idea of they would figure out new steps in order before certification of an election. This actually causes not only disruption, but it causes people to not believe in the voting process as we normally have as Americans with our, continuous peaceful transfer of power. So this goes back to insurrection January 6th, where the idea was they didn't show up on a random day. They showed up on the day that the election was certified. So the thinking now amongst some MAGA people is if they're able to hold up certification in some states, especially battleground states, that they could tip the election their way if they can get the Supreme Court to weigh in at the 11th hour. Kind of a la 2000, but instead of it being an accidental formation, they want to do this on purpose. So right now, the governor is under pressure from not only the Democratic Party, but a lot of constituents in Georgia who are upset about this because we've had a fair and free election cycle here forever in Georgia. I mean, you'd have to go back to Jim Crow to find election malfeasance in Georgia. But this thing that they're doing where they're placing people on these election boards, it's not only in Georgia. So you're going to see a lot of lawsuits. Greg Palatz, the investigative reporter, he just did a documentary on this. It's really good. Check that out. But yeah, this is how far MAGA has fallen to where they don't really believe they can actually win a legitimate election. So their answer is to sow seeds of doubt in everybody's mind about the election process. And if they can, stall, hold up, and disrupt. That doesn't seem to go in his favor.
They tried to kill him.
Cousin Todd.
Herschel Walker.
But wait a minute, before you go to Cousin Todd, Stacey, I got to clear this up. Only time I said the N word was I was repeating what Todd had called Keith. Todd called Keith the N word, and I repeated what Todd said. So I didn't just say the N word to somebody.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, Cousin Todd.
Did Herschel Walker come out and campaign for Trump in Georgia, Nas? Did Herschel Walker come out?
Sadly, Herschel has been nowhere to be found, and he's run off with some campaign contributions, so it's kind of going badly. But he did do a little media event the other day, but no, he's not acting as a Trump surrogate down here. I don't know if Trump kind of threw him away or what. But
he's got a lot of kids to feed.
Cousin Todd, you're holding up the show, Cousin Todd. We're looking to exit.
Todd, you hurt his feelings.
Somebody did. God darn it, y'all. Y'all know Todd is sensitive.
He just can't with you, Stacey. I can't with you, Stacey. So
Get him, Todd. Get him, Todd. Don't let him get away with that.
He's trying to get a threesome going with Keith and Steve, so I can't bother with that. Okay, now let me say this piece about the border. I can understand how Stephen feels about the border, calling these people the invaders. But the truth of the matter is Stephen and everybody that looks like Stephen is the invader. You see,
nobody looks like me.
When these people who look like Stephen stole this country from the natives, so they think that's going to happen again. See, if you are white living in America, you are an invader. That's a fact.
That's not a fact.
Invader, go back to where you came from. It was not here. You invaded this country. You and white people invaded America. And so now you're afraid that people are going to invade us. They're coming to take over, just like we did. So this is how we run things over here. And if you don't like it, go back to where you came from
Okay,
and tell
Todd, are
all
you
of your
talking
friends.
policy?
I
That's
have to go
policy.
back
You're
to
looking
my
for
mother.
policy.
That is
You're looking
policy.
for border policy.
Border policy says you can come here and seek asylum. Now, that's the way we do things here. And if you don't like it, white people, go back to where you came from.
They're not seeking
Oh,
asylum.
okay.
They're breaking
And then
in.
the next, cousin Todd, the next thing is a Georgia election law.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous. How and this reminds me of the '60s when people like Keith couldn't vote because they wanted you to count the marbles in the jar, and all that kind of thing. That's just for people who look like Keith. And this is why when he holds up this Constitution, I say, Keith, that wasn't for you. That book
Yes, it
is not
was.
for you
Yes, it
because
is.
because that book has rights in it. And because that wasn't for you, they had to give you extra rights. They're called civil rights. The reason they gave you civil rights is because that book wasn't for you. Not
It
only was
was.
it not for you, it was for nobody except white men.
It
And
was left wide open for
that's why
everybody. It
you're
was left
looking
open
that
for
book.
everybody in the
Hey,
future.
shut your pie hole. That book was strictly for white men. It wasn't for Negroes like you, and it wasn't for white women. It was
I'm
for
glad you cleaned
nobody
up your
except
language.
white men. Now, let me say this. You weren't the only ones hated, Keith. They also hate white women. And I'll tell you how bad they hate white women. You ready for this? They hate them so bad, they would rather give you the right to vote before their mother, their wife, their daughter, their sister. Did you hear me? White people gave slave boys the right to vote before white girls, and that's their own mother. Now, you know that's an awful lot of hating, don't you think? But
That's
they
very
hate white.
dramatic. You were
And
very
so now,
dramatic.
they're still hating white women because women can't make as much as men for doing the same job as men.
That's not
And why
true.
do you keep licking that book,
Okay,
Keith?
thank you.
Keith,
Thank you, Keith.
you keep licking that
I
book.
mean,
Why is
cousin
that?
Todd, thank you.
That's his
But
business.
Miss
Stacy,
Ashley, did you get
oh,
to
I'm sorry.
comment on these two things, Miss Ashley?
Yes, she did. She went first.
Wow.
I just want to make
If I
sure she
could,
was included. I didn't want to leave you out, Miss Ashley.
Can I make
absolutely.
one more
If
Did
statement?
you
I
comment?
could say
Please,
one thing
please,
Oh,
about the
Keith.
wait a
border.
minute, wait a
Yeah.
minute. Miss Ashley, I'm still waiting for her to answer me. Did you comment on the border, Miss Ashley, and
I
the
did,
election law?
not the election law. I don't really have any information on that, but I did comment on the border earlier. Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Can
you.
I say something,
Nanya,
Stacey?
go
Stacey,
ahead, Keith.
I just want to say, in response to Todd, it's
Licking
very
the
interesting how
Constitution.
Todd. It's very interesting how the entire world seems to think that the United States belongs to them, even though white men
What do you
founded
mean?
it, established it, and built it along with the slaves.
Along with the slaves. No,
Yes.
the slaves built it.
No, no.
Come on.
Slaves did
Yeah.
not build
So
it.
can I
Collaborative
get
Slaves
back?
at
were
least. It's
assisting
got to be
whites to build it.
collaborative.
Slaves did not build the United States.
Nanya, go ahead,
Slaves
Nanya.
We got you.
assisted whites in building the United States.
We got
They
you.
were
We got you.
slaves.
Oh,
If
they
you say
assisted.
slaves
They
built it,
You
assisted
just gonna
whites.
keep
why?
repeating yourself?
How
Can I
can
go
you
ahead?
say that? The
We
whites
Go ahead,
assisted
designed it.
whites.
Nanya.
The
He
white
hates his
people
mother.
designed it. The slaves built. So they work together.
You said this 3
That's good.
times.
No.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you for your
Now,
contribution. May you have
thank
a
you.
very good night.
More biscuits,
The
ma'am.
industrial age
More
was not
biscuits.
a
There you
slave
go.
movement.
Sir.
It was
Well,
a
here we go.
United
Uncle
Can you
Ruckus.
States
stop?
movement
Status,
by
Uncle
whites.
Ruckus. That is correct.
Everybody of every race.
That's why white man's bathwater.
So hold on. Just on the border, real quick. Fundamentally, this becomes the disconnect when people start to talk about the border. Not only do they not recognize when they look around the many people who make this country work, as far as Just period. Like when you look at the economic scale in America, and the bottom of that scale, the people who do the majority of the dirty work in this country are those people. And when people say, well, you know, we can have Americans do it. Well, Americans can't actually make a living while doing those jobs that pay wages so meager. So if you were really concerned, with stopping the flow of people coming over the border, you would say, okay, during harvest season, if anybody employs any of these people, you'll lose your license to do business in this state. And you would take away that person's license. The penalty would be harsh enough to where people wouldn't do it. Problem is, not only do they not do that, but they keep the flow continually going. And when you look at all of our meat packaging, and like I said, the harvest season, when it comes to fruits, vegetables, everything else. And then let's not even get into the kitchens,
the maids,
the restaurants, and the lawn care, like all of these different industries that they work in that Americans can't make a living doing. And if you really wanted to stop it, you would stop it at the source. You would not play this whack-a-mole game where you say, oh, we're going to be tough on it this year. Please increase the budget next year so we can run it again during election season when we scare Steven while he's sitting in front of YouTube watching videos
They don't
about
need
what
they don't need
migrants
to
are going to
work.
do
The
to.
government gives them free housing. They give them
That's
money.
not
They
true
give them
either.
everything they need.
See?
They don't need to work.
Where does that money go, Steven?
Aguna, hold on. First of all, they do not get any money from the government.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Any undocumented person is not eligible for any
That's not
benefits from the
true.
U.S. government. This is
That's
true.
not, you
This is a
shiny-eyed
fact.
monkey.
The people.
That's not a fact.
You guys repeat lies over and over and you believe
Hold on, because we're gonna clear up this lie.
That's not a fact.
The people you are talking about who are eligible for benefits.
People that just got to this country.
Shut up.
They're staying in hotels and
the people you are talking about who are eligible for
Don't let him lie,
these
Steven.
are people.
You're a damn liar.
These are the people who came here seeking asylum, and that asylum was granted, and that's why they were eligible. So when we had these conversations, and all you have is doom and gloom, but you don't have any facts, you don't even take the time to research the actual topic, and you just come over here and vomit out that the hordes of evil people are coming to kill everybody. At a certain point, people just tune you out because you don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't
Take
say.
some time to learn about the process of asylum. Take some time to learn about undocumented workers and the difference between the two.
You're just
and the
full
things
of
they're
crap,
eligible
man.
for. No, you're a moron. But
You're just full of crap.
Steven,
Okay, thank you. Let me have Miss Ashley, and then we are leaving for the night. Miss Ashley.
Yeah, I just want to end with this real serious comment here. ISIS, Hamas, all these terror groups, a lot of them are in this country right now. And being where I am right now and seeing different things, whatever, you guys need to take this very seriously. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of when. So we have people in this country right now that are hell-bent in destroying us and taking out as many Americans as they can. 19 terrorists took out 3,000 Americans. If 1,000 terrorists are here, is more than that in this country, whatever, they all work together, they could pretty much take out 250,000 or more of Americans. That's their planning. If you have grandkids, if you have kids, moms and dads, whatever, they're going to be showing up at your school. And imagine how you're going to feel when you get a phone call from your granddaughter, from your daughter's son, telling you, Dad, Mom, they're in our school. They're here beheading us. They're throwing us in ovens. They're burning us at the stake. You just look at what they did in Israel. They're trying to plan the same things here. So all these differences that we have, hold on. All these problems that will you let me finish, please? All this stuff we have that's going on between us here as a country, as far as united, we have to unite, but try and find this clear and present enemy that's in this country now that's coming after us, because it's not going to be funny anymore, not going to be cute when they showed up at your work, at your child's school, at the barbershop, whatever, what they're planning, taking out, and many Americans.
Okay, so
you mean like
thank you, Miss
Uvalde?
Ashley,
You mean like Uvalde? We don't need to fear Al Qaeda. We need to fear Al Cracker, as somebody said.
Well, I'm not saying that.
Right-wing terrorist groups are responsible.
That is my
fear.
What did a right-wing white terrorist group do in the last 10 years?
From overseas.
Well, you just used an example from 20 years ago. So what are you talking about?
When was the last terrorist attack?
You used 9/11. What are you talking about?
Okay, excuse me. Thank you. Miss Ashley, I don't know what you're referring to, and it sounds very scary what you're referring to. And where are you getting
Good
this
old fear
from?
mongering.
Stacey, our country was invaded.
So when was the
Where
last
are you getting
terrorist
this
attack?
from? Do you have an
Because-
article I can post?
I don't need, I'm in this space all the time with police officers. I'm with federal government. I hear these conversations all the time. And it's very scary what I hear. So I suggest you guys get strapped up. That's first thing. Get what you need in your homes, whatever, for protection. If they take out electric grids, they're trying to do, take out your electricity things, all these things they're planning right now. You can't have all these people in that are terrorists in this country that weren't here before. And their number one enemy is the United States. And they don't care if you saw from Ahmad. They don't care about your
And if you want a
They don't care
survival
about
package,
you.
send me
They don't care about
1999
anything at all. The only thing they care about is taking
rice,
out as
water,
many
and everything
Americans
else, so you can
And
escape the
just
fear.
mark my
of
word.
the-
Will you please be quiet?
Okay.
No, he can't. He's
It's a
stupid.
matter of if it's when.
Actually, we're just not.
No.
I'm in this space, so take
This is
take a
fear
grain
mongering.
of salt,
You
whatever
gotta
you
stop
want.
it.
Yeah.
This is not fear mongering. It's the truth. And you're too stupid to know it, or you're.
Fear mongering.
Okay.
If you live in fear,
All
get
right.
it.
It's the
done.
truth.
And get whatever you want to get strapped up. But you
Get-
can't live in fear
you gotta
and
get
then
God
not
on
have a
your side.
discussion and try to
You don't
say
have to
the
be in
It's
fear.
living in reality, Aguna.
Reality.
Okay. So,
Okay, so when was the
I'm
last
going to
terrorist
stop
attack?
everybody right now.
When is the
They
last
just
terrorist
got
Everyone right
here.
now.
They haven't been here long.
That
They
I'm
just
going to
got
stop
here.
everyone right now. That is, I don't know what Miss Ashley is referring to. She's talking about what she believes. It isn't necessarily what the beliefs are for Sporlitiks, but that's her opinion on what she believes, which she has the right to say. But that's not what Sporlitiks is professing, and that's not what we're saying. So, I just don't
And
know.
ultimately, this goes back to media literacy. We talked about this years ago. We have an elderly population who we put in front of computers, let them get on Facebook, YouTube, and everything else. They didn't know how to seek out a fine source. And before you know it, the algorithm, which radicalizes people, they give you more and more scary stuff. And now people are walking around thinking that the sky is going to fall every day. And sadly, I blame Silicon Valley for a lot of this. Just when you look at Trumpism and the things that they're willing to believe, where they tell the rest of the world is wrong, only them and their supporters know the actual truth, you get an idea about what we heard on this show tonight.
Okay, thank you to our first responders. Oh, first off, we have no show next week. It's Labor Day. We wish you, everyone in the United States, a happy Labor Day. To our first responders in our communities, you make our lives livable. Thank you, thank you, thank you to our women and men of the U.S. military. Like Miss Ashley, we are forever indebted for your service. On behalf of Aguna, upside down, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative,
Rebind that Bible.
Stephen,
Lick it.
Oh my gosh.
the independent thinker, Miss Ashley.
Thanks.
We thank you for coming on. And Nanya, we appreciate your opinions. And last but definitely not least, my cousin Todd.
Hey, that horse is riding the wrong way. Where'd you get it from? Lehigh
I'm
and
Stacey
Birmingham?
Johnson. Let's keep this conversation going on Stephanie Stallworth's The Flow Television Network. Check us out on TikTok, Twitch, Instagram.
And people, save your family members
X.
from Alex Jones. Don't let your family listen to Alex Jones all day. It's not good for them.
X.
They're coming for your first
What else are we on that I left out?
YouTube, TikTok, Facebook.
TikTok. I said
Instagram.
TikTok. Check us out. We're not on Facebook, really.
Oh.
So check us out. We won't be on next week, but the week after in September, we will be back on Tuesday, I believe.
Let's do it.
And live.
What's that date? What is that date?
I don't know that date.
Let me see.
Let me
Wait.
see that date. I don't know that date. We'll be back on. Wait a minute. Let me look at the calendar. We'll be back on Tuesday, September 11th. September
Indeed.
11th, 9/11.
On the holiday.
We'll be back on Tuesday, September 11th, and we will be advertising beforehand to tell you what time if you want to catch us live. If not, check us out on our YouTube channel at sporlitiks.com. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you after the Labor Day holiday. Thank you. Have a good night.
Alex Jones broke up more families than cheap liquor.
He was right about. He's been right about a lot of things, though. You got to give him that.
And Alex
Hey,
Jones
Stacey.
Felicity always
That
says
was a rough show.
Hey
It was
guys,
rough.
I gotta
You got a
say,
big panel.
I want to say to be clear, I just wanted to say that the men who wrote this document and other document that formed our government were white, all of them. So what?
That's right. And
Get
you
over
served
it.
them biscuits.
Get over
So
it.
if you
are
look at this comment,
successful.
it says, Todd, you should find Jesus. You are a very hateful person.
Woo! All right.
Who wrote that?
Why would a Christian say that to somebody else?
Wow.
That's kind of disappointing.
They could have been.
That Christian is a blue-eyed devil.
And Debbie, hey, she.
Funny to see people criticize someone, which is fine, more educated than they will ever be. Trump didn't do anything
And
wrong.
Aguna, why did you beat that troll up in the comment section? Terrible.
I drug her. I drug her. Read them all.
I can't see the comment section from where I am, so that's what's messing me up. Hey, Stacy, I can see it, but it's like going to the race at Daytona. Everything looks about this big. I need a magnifying glass.
And
you guys,
Kelly said, I haven't heard more lies in 1 hour that I've heard in my life. I don't think everything he just said is a lie. Do any of you have a conscience?
Okay.
That's right. You go, Debbie. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, they cannot tell the truth. They know what the truth is, but they intentionally lie. That's really hard on your soul, man. We know that. You cannot intentionally bear false witness. There's something wrong with that, because these aren't stupid people.
Stop talking.
You're not stupid people. But you're right, Debbie. It's
you got to have a dialogue.
Crazy.
You can't say you're a liar and think in your mind you're making a point.
Yes, he thinks.
Yeah, when you lie and somebody calls you a liar, they're telling you the truth.
I'm trying to help you out, Stephen.
I'm helping you out. When you lie and somebody tells you you're lying, they're telling you the truth.
You sound like a first grader. You sound like a first grader.
Stacey, this is what I want
You sound like a kindergartner.
Here you go. If you don't agree with something I say, instead of saying, "Oh, you're a liar,"
no, you're lying.
That's not true.
When you tell me 1 + 1 = 5, I'm going to say you're lying, and it's easily provable that you're lying. And you have to know you're lying. If I say you're lying, I know you're lying.
Stephen, you're
missing. We're not on September 11th. I made a mistake. You're not
saying anything.
Wait a minute. Let Stacey speak.
I made a mistake. We're not on September 11th. We're on September 10th. If we're coming on Tuesday, September 11th is a Wednesday.
Yeah, you're
on.
So what time is it going to be? 7:30 or 8:30, Stacey?
We don't know the time yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope we know by the time that day gets here.
Liars on the show. You just sound ridiculous.
Only when you lie. Only when you tell a blatant lie that I know you're.
Stop.
You can't
you're crazy.
You
are crazy. He's going to keep trying to educate him. You can't do that. You have to have an argument. Shut up.
If you're going to say 1 + 1 is 15, I can't go with that.
He doesn't understand that. He looks like an idiot when he says that stuff.
Look, Donald Trump is a woman. If you say that, I have to correct you.
He doesn't care.
Nobody said that.
Aguna. He doesn't care about anything you're saying, you crazy.
I care about everything people are saying.
Oh my God!
If I didn't care, I wouldn't be on the show.
Do you and Aguna?
So how come you don't take the time to prep then? Prep for the show.
I do prep for the show. I just don't lie like you lie.
Come on.
No, you say you're a liar because that's your
benefit from the white man.
You're like lying is
getting out of here.
That's your safety blanket.
They're just
Hey, Stacey, we're gonna have a meeting, Stacey, after the show.
Yes, we're going to have a meeting. So I'm going to end the live show so we can have our meeting. Don't go anywhere.
Oh, man, it was still going live? Oh, man.
Just say good. We were still live. Just say good night to our viewers.
Good night, viewers.
Good night. Hey, Keith, I really like your girl. What's her